Today on Dr. Phil.
An unwelcome house guest.
My mother has been living with me on and off for 8 years.
And 2 daughters.
My mom tried to sell me for drugs when I was an infant.
Who want her out.
I'm working on me.
Go work on you in someone else's home then.
I stopped maturing when I started using. How could I be a good parent?
Figure it out. Ask Google. Ask Alexa.
Or if you got desperate, you could ask Dr. Phil. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
Get ready to take care of you. Well, it's Moocher Week, and today we have another doozy for you. A woman accused of being an ungrateful, entitled brat who refuses to move out, get a job, or even buy her own food. Now, Asia wrote in because she is sick and tired of taking care of Janet, who she says she has spent over $100,000 on over the last 8 years. But here's the rub. Janet isn't Asia's spoiled teenage daughter. Jan is her 57-year-old mother. Yep, you heard me right, her mother. Asia says that while she was growing up, Janet was a neglectful, self-absorbed drug addict who put Asia and her sister Ashley in constant danger. Yet, for some reason, Asia is the one who feels guilty and just can't bring herself to kick her mother to the curb. Take a look.
My mother, Janet, acts like a mooch, is entitled, and depends on me for everything. I'm over it. My mother has been living with me on and off for 8 years. Over all the years that I've taken care of my mother, I've probably spent close to $100,000 from hotels to vacations, eating out, clothing, cell phones. My mother does nothing for herself. She sits in my house all day in her pajamas watching TV. My mom is a recovering drug addict. My mother's drugs of choice were opiates and cocaine. For as long as I can remember, my mother was a drug addict. I had to become the mother at about 6 years old. I remember having to go in my mom's purse and take the paper food stamps in order to pay for food at the grocery store. My sister and I were constantly being uprooted. We were moving from apartment to apartment, never having any stability. My sister and I were both molested multiple times between the ages of 4 and 7. That was hard as a child. It was scary. It didn't feel like we really had a safe place. I suffered through a rough childhood, and now I'm having to parent my mother, and it makes me angry. My mother's never been a mother to me. I feel like I'm the default caretaker because my mom has nowhere to go. She relapsed on heroin. When my mom moved back in with my husband and I after rehab, she agreed that she was going to pay us $300 a month for rent, as well as watch our children and help maintain the household. When I have to get home from work and do the dishes or start a load of laundry, my mother's comment to me is, Asia, I don't mind helping you, just ask.
I don't feel like I should have to ask. I feel like if you're here and you see it, then it should just be done.
My mom is no longer doing those things that she agreed to do. I do not think it's benefiting her sobriety for her to be sitting around my house, not doing anything, not motivated. We fight constantly, every day.
You nab the kids about every little thing. It comes to a head.
My mother is driving a wedge in my marriage. My husband and I will get in arguments a few times a month, and the basis of those arguments are my mother. I can't stand to be around her anymore. If my mother, Janet, doesn't get out of my house, our relationship is over.
I don't think it is benefiting my mother's sobriety to live in our house and do nothing.
Correct.
So why is she there?
I feel like I have to help her. Nobody else will. My older sister has not stepped up to the plate, and I have this sense of guilt because she is my mother that I need to help her to ensure she's okay and not on the street.
You're keeping your mother there even though it's crippling her because it makes you feel better.
I mean, I guess to put it that way, yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else to do.
Is there any other way to put it? I mean, you just said, I feel guilty if I were to put her out. It's not in her best interest. It doesn't help her sobriety. It doesn't help her productivity. So that's not good for her. But it salves my guilt. So it's not good for her, but it makes me feel better. So hell with her. I'm just keeping her there because I feel better.
I mean, yeah, it makes me feel better, but it's still, you know, damaging my marriage and my personal life with my husband and my kids. Again, I just don't know what else to do.
Well, doesn't that make you seem awfully selfish?
Yeah.
It's hurting my marriage, it's hurting my husband, it's hurting my kids, it's hurting my mother, but it makes me feel better. So the only one benefiting from this is you.
Yeah. Yeah, if you put it that way, I guess, yeah, it does sound selfish.
Well, you keep saying if you put it that way. Is there any other way to look at this? You just had never thought of it that way.
No, I never thought of it that way. Absolutely right.
Okay, well, let's talk about what kind of roommate your mother is.
Sure.
Well, I made a list of your complaints because they were numerous and I thought very legitimate, by the way.
Yeah.
You said doesn't respect boundaries, doesn't respect the rules of the house, because every house has kind of a, you know, there's rules of the house, the way things run.
Right.
She refuses to work. She could work, right?
I believe she can work, absolutely. There's no reason not.
She won't move out. She never leaves the house.
Rarely.
Watches TV all day in her pajamas. Is nearly doubled the electric bill. Was she an arc welder or something? What's she doing?
My husband and I work full time and we're out of the house most of the day, but with her being home all day.
She's just running everything.
It's running,
Okay.
being ran when it wouldn't have been.
She tries to parent your children.
Yes. Yes.
She stomps and grunts around the house, and part of that was what Andrew
That's
said.
my husband's big gripe,
Yeah.
yes.
She complains when asked to babysit.
Absolutely.
Because she's busy? What?
I don't know.
It's like, well, I'll fit that in.
Yeah.
She calls nonstop complaining when she does babysit.
Yes.
Like she's with the kids, so she'll call you
She'll call
wherever
me at
you
work
are.
or wherever I'm at to say one of the kids are acting up or they're not listening or she's frustrated.
Wow. She's actually mean to the kids.
Sometimes, yes.
She expects you to chauffeur her everywhere, be driven everywhere.
Right. If she doesn't have a ride, I end up.
Does she have a driver's
defaulting.
license?
No.
And she slams the cabinet doors, constantly breaking things. What's she break? Like dishes? and-
Yeah, she has. Again, that's one more major thing on my husband's side. He's real
Yeah.
big about that.
Constantly complains about how tired she is.
Yep, she's always tired.
Walks into your bedroom without knocking, and
Yes.
she's caught
She's
Andrew
naked, yes.
kind of naked. She sleeps in your bed when you're gone. Why does she get into your
has.
bed?
She has, like if we're out of town, she'll say she'll go in there, especially if she has the kids and they'll watch a movie and she'll fall asleep in there. And that's, you know, intimate.
But she's been asked not to. And she sleeps on Andrew's side, and he
she does.
objects to that.
That's again a really big pet peeve for him, yes.
Yeah. And if you go somewhere, she pouts if not invited to your friend's house.
Yeah, she'll get a little passive aggressive if we go to dinner and I tell her, hey, we'll be back, we're going to dinner. She'll say, thanks for the invite. And I'm like, well, I don't have to necessarily invite you everywhere. I'm allowed to go to dinner with my husband and my children without you tagging along. And then what I typically will do, because I feel bad, is I will bring her dinner home or something and give it to her to just pacify everything.
I don't know how you expect me to be some stellar grandmother when I didn't even know how to be a mother.
Figure it out. Pick up a book, go online, ask Google, ask Alexa.
Or if it got desperate, you could ask Dr. Phil. And later,
You can't sit and call her a complete freeloader.
What did you do when you found out she overdosed?
I called you because I didn't
Called
know
me
what
because
to
you didn't know what to do because
You're
your
a
head
professional.
is in the damn sand like
Yeah,
it
my
has
head's
been
in the sand
the whole
because
time
I
you've
know how to
grown up.
handle a drug addict.
Figure it out.
all right, well, Janet says she rejects Asia's claim that she is somehow taking advantage of her. I mean, take a look.
I feel Asia's being way too hard on me. I do not take advantage of my daughter, Asia. I believe it's a give and take relationship. I don't think Asia would kick me out of her home because it's not in her character. Living with her is a convenience for both of us. But no matter what I do, it's never good enough for Asia. Asia doesn't completely take care of me. I do pay my rent every month, and I provide for myself. I am not a lazy person. If I do a couple loads of laundry or clean up certain areas of the house, that won't satisfy her.
I don't feel it's my responsibility to maintain your whole household.
Asia talks down to me as if she's my mom and I'm her daughter.
What did you do? You mean to tell me that you couldn't pick up the vacuum?
We constantly fight over how to parent her children. I never knew how to be a good parent, and she expects me to be a stellar grandparent. I'm taking care of Asia's children more than I expected to. It's not fair that Asia expects me to watch the children at any given time without notice. I don't feel like I get in Andy and Asia's personal space. I have only slept in Asia and Andy's bed when they have been out of town and said I could sleep in there. I believe the boundaries have been blurred a little bit in the last 10 months because we're more comfortable with each other. My main job right now is staying sober and going to meetings. I feel that my drug addiction has made Asia and Ashley the strong women that they are today. I can't change the past. I made bad decisions, but I'm finally learning who I am. I can live on my own. I believe I know how to do it. I just haven't had the opportunity to prove it.
Why are you living with your daughter and her husband?
When I came to stay with my daughter is when I came out of treatment.
Right.
This was supposed to be like a transitional thing, and I haven't found anything yet to move.
You say you don't think 10 months is a long time to have stayed with her, but you've been there a long time, right?
Yes, sir.
How long? You've been there 8 out of 10 years?
On and off. Not 8 years constantly.
If she wasn't living with us, I was still either sending her, helping her with money or helping her get her birth certificate, still involved parenting, I guess you could say, for the last, 8.5 years of my almost 10-year marriage.
Do you have a plan?
I'm not going to make excuses, but it's hard to find a place to live. I've done some steps.
You don't research it. Like, you don't look for an apartment. Like, I do that when I have some time. I'll give her a list of apartments and be like, here, call these people, and then I have to follow up and be like, did you call them? And it's always, sometimes you call them, but usually it's, I haven't gotten around to it.
I have a team here, and we really do our homework.
Absolutely.
Because we really look, you watch the show all the time.
I do.
At home in your pajamas.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And I want to look at these.
Okay.
Now, this is a text in October of 2012. I think it's time that I move on. I really don't know what the next step should be. Here's one in 18. A statement to the producers. You said, I'm trying to figure out the next step in my life, but I don't know how exactly to take the next step to being truly independent. So in 5 years, you haven't figured out that next step.
In 2012, I might have had good intentions to take the next step. Did I do that? No. I relapsed and went back to using drugs, which is what I know. Since 2016, I've been sober. I've made some huge positive changes in my life.
My biggest issue is that sobriety, which I'm proud of you for being sober, and that's wonderful and great and dandy, but there's more to being sober than just not using the drugs. And with that, for me, comes being that independent piece.
You act like poor Asia, when in actuality, I do babysit your children. I don't know how you expect me to be this, just because I'm sober, I'm going to be some stellar grandmother, when I didn't even know how to be a mother. I stopped maturing when I started using.
Okay.
How can I be a good parent?
Figure it out. That it gets old. It gets old.
Go-to.
Pick up a book, go online, ask somebody, watch me. I don't know, figure it out. And so I'm frustrated because there are resources. It's 2018. There's resources. Ask Google. Ask Alexa. I mean, somebody will tell you.
I'm working on me. I'm trying to do the best for me.
If you want to work on you, and that's it.
I don't know who I am. I don't know what I like. I don't know what I'd like to do.
If you want to work on you, go work on you in someone else's home then.
Well, you could ask Google, or you could ask Alexa, or if you got desperate, you could ask Dr. Phil. I might have a thought. I don't know. Let's take a break. Asia says her sister Ashley is selfish and expects her to take care of her mother by herself. Ashley says she has no desire to take care of their mother because she certainly didn't take care of them growing up. So we'll meet Ashley after the break.
I have a very strained relationship with my mother, Janet. I am very angry with her for expecting us to do anything for her. I found out in elementary school that my mom tried to sell me for drugs when I was an infant. It's hard for me to try to take care of my mom now when she hardly took care of me and my sister growing up.
And later,
I'm not a horrible person.
I didn't say it, she did.
You don't have the problem. You're a bully and you're rude.
I can't.
My sister Ashley and I do not get along. Ashley is selfish and oblivious to anything that's around her. My sister Ashley feels that my mother should be able to live independently, but she thinks I should do all the work to get her there. I think it's about time that my sister does more for my mother. I'm over it. It's her turn. She's the older sister. If anything, she should have been doing all this, everything that I'm doing.
Well, Janet's oldest daughter, Ashley, says she hasn't seen her mother or sister in 2 years and thinks it's about time that Asia stops enabling their mother. Now, Ashley wants her mom to get a job, a place of her own, and stop mooching off of her sister. Take a look.
I have a very strained relationship with my mother, Janet, and my sister, Asia. I rarely speak to either of them. I don't think of them as a priority when they call or when they text. I constantly argue with my sister over how to best handle my mom's living situation. Asia thinks that I should take care of our mother. She's asked me to take my mom in, send money, just take care of her in general. The last time I saw my mother was 2 years ago. My mom is selfish because she cares about her drug addiction more than her children. I had a difficult childhood. I found out in elementary school that my mom tried to sell me for drugs when I was an infant. My mom put us in bad positions. She brought us around other drug addicts, and she would leave us alone with drugs accessible in the home. It's hard for me to try to take care of my mom now when she hardly took care of me and my sister growing up. I am very angry with her for expecting us to do anything for her. At this point, I refuse to help my mom again. I tried having my mom live with me for about a month and it didn't work out. She was doing drugs when I had small children in the house. She would sit around my house high. About 15 months ago, my mom overdosed on heroin. After that point, I was done. My respect for my mom went to zero. My mom living with Asia is not helping anyone. I tell her all the time that she needs to stand on her own 2 feet and be an adult. Asia's not giving my mom the push she needs to get her life together.
Well, Janet admits that she has been a drug addict since she was just 15, 16 years old, but she says she's been sober now for 15 months. No easy task when you've been in the life for all of these years, and now deserves the respect a mother and grandmother deserves. Now, her daughters say, well, that's all well and good, but it doesn't make up for a neglected and dangerous childhood.
I'm a product of rape. I don't know my father.
My mom has been on drugs my entire life.
Ashley was born addicted to cocaine.
I had to be given medication in order to wean off the drug. I believe that it stunted my growth, and I've had a lot of learning disabilities through my life also. I don't know who my father is.
I feel that my children resent me for their childhood.
I remember the smell of drugs, being in the house.
I admit I put the girls in bad situations. Having different people come to the house at all times of the day and night, having firearms around, but the drugs and money and people were always in the house.
My mom was out doing drugs or sleeping for days. It was very tough.
Because of my mom's drug use, she missed a lot of major milestones in my life.
She would miss birthdays. She would miss things at school. She missed my wedding. She didn't come to the ceremony, and then she showed up to my reception high in front of my whole family.
I know I can't continue to beat myself up about the past. If they want to carry the past with them, that's on them.
It is amazing and a miracle that Asia and I are well-adjusted and living good lives.
I vowed to not turn out like her. I didn't want to.
Well, Ashley, thanks for joining us. What do you want to say about the conversation that we've had so far?
I feel like my sister expects me to take care of my mom, and I feel like she's a really big bully about it. But we've never put my mom on the street. We've always made sure that she had somewhere to go. But I can't have her in my home.
Did you just say we?
Yes, we.
You?
Because
you have made sure. You are so oblivious. Your head is in the sand.
You are a grown woman.
Yes, sir, I am.
Why are you not living on your own? You say your main job is to be sober.
Yes, it is. I don't like being in the middle of my children fighting. I've made some horrible decisions, Dr. Phil, in my life. I can't change them. It's done.
I agree. You cannot change what has happened. You can apologize for it, and you can mean it, and you say you're sober. I believe very much in the 12 steps being a part of sobriety. I looked very closely at 4 of those 12 steps as they apply to you, particularly numbers 6, 7, 8, and 9. 6 says, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, we humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Have you done that?
No, sir, not all of it.
Have you done 8 and 9? Have you done 8 and 9 with these girls?
Absolutely not. You work these steps all the time. I'll be doing them for the rest of my life, Dr. Phil.
You said something that I don't know if she said it to the two of you, but she said, and I quote, "I think my past drug addiction has made my girls the women they are today."
That's ridiculous.
You said that as though it were a virtue.
It's not a virtue, Dr. Phil. They wanted to be anything but like me. My past and the way my children were raised made them strong, independent women.
But we could have became strong, independent women without having to deal with what we had to deal with growing up.
I
without
agree.
Seeing
Well, you also said, and the reason I'm asking if you made amends is because you said, I feel, quote, I feel they'll get over it when they want to get over it. If they want to carry the past with them, that's on them.
Absolutely.
Now that's a hell of a long way from making amends. Next, Asia's husband, Andy, says he's ready to kick irritating, childish, freeloading mother-in-law out for good. Now, Janet says she knows Andy wants to kick her out, but Asia would never let that happen. We'll talk about that after the break.
I don't think that it's okay for my wife to be supporting my mother-in-law when my mother-in-law has never done anything for my wife. I can't see spending the rest of my life with my mother-in-law leeching off of me. I'm gonna have to give my wife an ultimatum, either me or Janet.
Closed captioning provided by...
My mother is completely irresponsible. She's 57 years old, and you wouldn't know it. Due to my mother being so irresponsible and having no drive to get her life together, I often tell her that she needs to guilt. GYLT, get your life together. I try to help my mom. I try to find her apartments. I find her the phone numbers for the apartments. I have to constantly follow up with her to find out, hey, did you call? And more often than not, she has not called. And she doesn't call until I continue to nag her. My mom's favorite excuse is that she's overwhelmed and she's shutting down. It's called life. Everybody has to do it.
Well, Asia's husband, Andy, says he is really sick and tired of living with what he calls his freeloading mother-in-law, and after 8 years, he just says he can no longer tolerate Janet stomping around, acting like she owns the place, and breaking all agreed-upon rules. Andy says if his marriage to Asia is going to continue, she has to be willing to remove her mother from their home, because he says he's done.
My mother-in-law is ruining my life. My mother-in-law is a freeloading piece of crap. I'm ready to kick my mother-in-law Janet out of my house. I'm gonna have to give my wife an ultimatum, either me or Janet. It bothers me so much that me and my wife are working so hard for our family, and most of those earnings go towards Janet. My wife Asia wants so badly to have a relationship with her mother, she's willing to do just about anything for her. I don't think that it's okay for my wife to be supporting my mother-in-law when my mother-in-law has never done anything for my wife. Never thought that I'd be spending 8 of my 10-year marriage with my mother-in-law living with me. Janet is just an obnoxious, annoying person to live with. She constantly stomps around the house, slams doors, drawers, breaks dishes. Janet often walks around the house like she owns the place and she has no boundaries. One night she came in to say goodnight to Asia in our bedroom without knocking, and I was standing there naked. Never has there been a time that I've told Janet that it is okay to sleep in my bed while I'm gone, but she still does it and sleeps on my side of the bed. One time I came home, there was hair on my pillow, my bed was messed up. I knew that my mother-in-law Janet had been laying on my side of the bed, and it really pissed me off. Living with Janet has had a negative impact on my marriage. A couple of years ago, we almost got a divorce because of all the fighting. Asia almost chose her mother over me. I can't live like this any longer. Janet, get a life, get it together.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you, Dr. Phil.
You've been listening to everything so far, right?
Yes, sir.
And I started out talking to Asia about she's doing this for her. How do you see this?
I see it as her wanting that relationship as a daughter, as a child, wanting that mother to be there for her. And she wants that mother-daughter relationship.
And you think she's keeping her there hoping that that's going to click on?
I think so.
Do you think it will?
I don't know. It's gotten to a point where if she doesn't get out of my house independently and live, that we're not going to have a strained relationship or a good relationship. We're just not going to have a relationship. I'm going to be like her and just pretend that my mother doesn't exist, because that's what she does.
I don't pretend
Yes,
she
you
doesn't
do.
exist. No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
And I find it very funny how you guys sit and call her a freeloader when she pays rent. She takes care of your kids. If I had somebody take care of my kids every day, I could have a whole house,
This
a
is
whole
the
other house
first
for God's
time.
sake.
This is the first
Me and
time
my
in
husband
8.5.
I only work for childcare.
This is the
Most
first
people do
time.
that. So for you to say
This is
anything
the
is
first
ridiculous.
time. This is the first time in about the 8 years on and off that she's lived with us that she has paid us rent. And she pays us $300 a month.
Okay.
And $300 isn't going to cover what it costs to live.
No, and I never said
Okay?
it does. I
That's
never
what
said
you
that it
just
does.
said.
I
Okay?
didn't say that $300 covers, but you can't sit and call her a complete freeloader when
You have
she's
not done anything
I
to
haven't.
even have
You mean to tell me
step
that
up.
I didn't drive down to the Dells to try to get her and have her overdose in front of my children?
What did you do when you found out she overdosed?
I called you because I didn't know what to do.
You didn't know what to do because
You're a
your head
professional.
is in the damn sand like
yeah,
it
my
has
head's
been
in the sand
the
because
whole time
I
you've
know how to
grown up.
handle a drug addict. And,
Figure it out. It's called being resourceful. It's called Al-Anon meetings. It's called figuring it out so you can figure out how to have a
Al-Anon
relationship and
meetings,
figure it
I don't
out.
go to an Al-Anon meeting. I don't have the problem.
Let me just, whatever. I can't. I cannot.
You started doing drugs in your mid-teen years, right?
Yes, sir.
When you start doing drugs, you stop developing.
Yes.
Realize that you're dealing with someone here that has arrested development. They've stopped at that 14, 15-year-old level. So when she says in 2012, in 2018, I don't know what the next step is, that's something you would expect a 14 or 15-year-old person to say in terms of planning out their life. They don't know.
Right.
That's why we're stuck. Okay, now, what do? Well, the worst thing you can do with anybody that has any type of deficit is require less of them than what they can do. You've got to get them up and get them moving and require the most out of them you can possibly do. And that's what you're not doing with your mother. You're letting her sit there on a couch in her pajamas all day watching television when she needs to be developing and getting out there independent and standing on her own 2 feet. And I'm going to tell you how we do that after the break. Closed captioning provided by
Asia is enabling my mom by allowing her to stay in her home. My mom is very codependent. My mom just doesn't have a care in the world. My mom tells us all the time that she's afraid to live alone. My mom has the choice to be self-sufficient and independent, but she chooses not to because she knows Asia will be there for her no matter what.
You know what, people are sitting home watching TV all over the world right now, because we're on all over America and like 57 foreign countries. They're watching this saying, why do you feel so guilty when you have been so neglected and abused? They would think you'd say, screw her. And there's a paradox here. You guys could turn around and walk away and people would say, yeah, she's getting what she deserves. But the truth is, there is a paradox, because sometimes you know how much resentment you have. You know how much anger is down there, and you feel guilty about that. You feel like a daughter should love their mother, and I have really bad feelings, so you feel guilty, and the pendulum swings the other way. So you're not going to be comfortable. You're not going to be comfortable with this concept of kicking your mother out. You would think that would be cruel, right?
I do. She don't, but I do.
You don't. You wouldn't think it would be.
I don't think.
If your mother's standing out in the rain,
Absolutely.
hungry, you would not feel good about
I'm
that.
I'm not a horrible person. I would not want anything like that for my mom.
All right, then
And
let's
it's
make a
rude
plan.
For somebody to sit here and say that that's what I would want for my mother.
I didn't say it. She did,
Yes,
and y'all
exactly.
don't. Y'all argue all the time anyway. I grew up with 3 sisters. You're not going to shock me. But here's the thing. Let's come up with a plan everybody can be excited about. Okay? Not a dream, a plan.
Sure. You can't have her telling her she's a piece of crap every day and then her gonna get up the next day and go. That's not the way life works. You can't be put down every day of your life.
How would you know what I tell her when you don't answer the phone for 2 months straight?
Okay, but I hear you on the phone and how you talk to people
How
and
do
how
you-
you talk
how
to
do
me.
you know how
You
it-
came into my
how?
home and disrespected me and my family, my
How?
home, and you're a bully and you're rude.
That's fine. That's your. You
It
can have
is.
that. That's fine.
Okay,
But whatever.
Maybe I'm confused. Because I thought we were here to figure out
Yeah.
a plan
For Mom.
for your mom's life. If we're here to work on the relationship between you two, then I'll rethink this.
No, I'm good.
So, what's to be done in this situation? Does Asia need to kick her mom out for the sake of her family? Does she just go home, put her stuff on the front porch, call a cab, or is there something more responsible to do? I think there's something more responsible to do, and I do have a plan. We'll be right back.
I was a drug addict from the age of 16. I started out with cocaine, but I've also used heroin and opiates. 15 months ago, I went to rehab. They took some heroin and I overdosed. The paramedics had to bring me back to life. I've made a lot of bad choices, and I put the drugs ahead of my children, Ashley and Asia. When my children were growing up, they were more like a burden to me. It was inconvenient to have them around because I was trying to use. Ashley and Asia resent me for their childhood. I feel like I've come a long way. I'm ready to be the mother.
Okay, Asia wrote in pleading for help to get her mother, who she thinks is not a good fit in their marriage, into a lifestyle that works for her. What she doesn't want to do is be unkind or cruel and just kick her to the curb, so she's sitting out in the rain, hungry, under a bridge. She can't live with that. Ashley can't live with that. I don't think even Andy would want to live with that. Because he would then be living with Asia, who wouldn't be happy with that. And so if Mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, so Andy wouldn't be happy. So, what do we do? Look, I want to put the dots really close together here. You agree that the goal here is independence, right?
Absolutely.
And you agree that you are suffering from inertia right now. You're stuck.
Yes, sir.
It's like you got a transmission, but you can't get it in gear. You're stuck. And days are turning into weeks, and weeks are turning into months, and months are turning into 8, 9, 10 years. So something's got to break this loose. Now, first off, you're not without income.
No.
You have income, and she's paying you some rent, right? So it's not like we're going from zero to something. We actually, you say she doesn't look, she doesn't check. Well, we did. We went into your hometown, and these are stock photos, but the numbers are real. We took a look and checked around, and we found out there's a room for rent in a very nice neighborhood for $375, very close to where you are. There's a room for rent for $580 here, one over here for $500, a one-bedroom, 1.5 bath apartment for $619, one here for $635, one here for $650, $695, $700. There's all kinds of places here, and there are other women that need roommates that can share these kinds of multifamily, or there can be rooms in these single-family dwellings that are wanting to rent rooms for what she's paying you right now. That problem can be solved tomorrow. Closed captioning provided by I'm willing to get you a life coach, a vocational coach that will actually meet with you, sit down with you, plan this out, help you make the appointments, help you go there, teach you how to interview, go through the whole process of getting you into the workforce that will show you how to make a resume, show you how to dress for an interview, show you how to do the interview, do mock interviews with you, do the whole thing to get you into the workforce. And then you're on your own, and the first thing you know, you're looking in the mirror and say, I'm living independently, I'm living on my own. Now I can call my daughter and say, would you like to go to lunch? Would you like, I have lunch at 11:30, would you like to meet me at the mall or here or there, and we can have lunch? Instead of whatever. And then if you want her to babysit your kids, and she wants to and can on a given night, fine. If not, you call the girl down the street. But at that point, you're not kicked to the curb. You're not being dealt with in an unkind way. You are requiring from her everything she can do and not something she can't do. We can have her with a life coach, vocational counselor that will put those dots close together with a timeline and have her in the workforce in a very short period of time, living on her own in a very short period of time. How does that sound to you?
Awesome.
Would you feel good about that?
Absolutely.
And you like that? How do you feel about that?
I think it's a good plan. It sounds like a really good option for her, and I think that she's capable of doing that with the assistance that you're talking about. I think that's a good.
How do you feel about that?
You nailed it, Dr. Phil.
When I described all of this, it's the first time I've really seen you smile since you got here. I think you really would like to do this, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because then you're proud of yourself. You're doing something that you're proud of yourself, and you're not cut off from your family. You're not, none of that. Make sense?
Absolutely.
And you move her out, but there's somewhere for her to go.
Right.
And can you be at peace about that?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think I know when to shut up. No matter what the situation, fixing a fractured familial relationship can be difficult. But it doesn't have to be impossible. If you want to begin healing your relationship with your parent or child, first, stop judging. You can love your parent or child without loving every aspect of his or her life. Next, be honest. Tell the truth or don't say anything at all. You can be honest while retaining a boundary of respect. Next, talk about things that don't matter. Now, you heard me right. Talk about things that don't matter. If all you ever talk about in a relationship are problems, you have a problem relationship. Forgive yourself. Look, there comes a time in all of our lives when we have to leave the past in the past. Stop beating up on yourself. Nobody's perfect, but you got to give yourself a break. Hit the reset button to start over. And that's the last point. Make a fresh start. Once you've forgiven yourself and also your loved one, you can rebuild your relationship without focusing on past conflicts. And you have to ease into it. You don't expect your relationship to change overnight. You've got to give it a chance. Move forward together and do it at a pace that both of you are comfortable with. You don't have to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Just take it a step at a time. And trust me, small changes add up to big differences, and time's going to go by whether you're doing something with it or not. For more information about today's episode, log on to drphil.com. We'll be discussing this on all my social platforms. You know where to find me. Scan this flow code to join the Dr. Phil Fanatics. You'll get all new exclusive content and be the first to gain access to Dr. Phil News. Also, we'll chat about episodes, and Fanatics may receive messages from me. And yes, I do go on there. That is me. It's not somebody writing for me. It's actually me. To scan with your smartphone, just open your camera, aim it at the flow code, zoom in if you need to, and then tap the banner that pops up on your screen. You don't have to push any buttons, just aim it at the code and it does all the work for you. This will link you to exclusive content you can't get anywhere else. Plus, you can follow and subscribe to my podcast, Fill in the Blanks, where I provide critical information on some of the most important issues we're facing today. And check out Robin's podcast, I've Got a Secret with Robin McGraw, where she swaps secrets with thought leaders, innovators, and friends. Get in on the Secret Squad. Listen for free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll see you tomorrow.